So we're out here at the dry fire area. Okay, we're gonna start going over some of the things that we're gonna do as far as the first part we talked about, which is eliminating tension in your body when it comes to working on transitions. This is the more important, critical first step, in my opinion, because the fact if you're unable to precisely steer the gun around as a result of too much tension in your shoulders or your core or what have you, you're always gonna be fighting against the time it takes for your gun to stabilize when you're getting where you're going. So we're gonna do a simple drill first thing to sort of kind of help calibrate that same phenomenon. Bring your camera in close here. What I'm going to do, right, is I'm going to start with my gun pointed at one target on the immediate left, and I'm going to essentially look at a separate target, and in my own time, I'm just going to bring the gun to where I'm looking and then stop there, right? And I'll be able to see it once I'm already looking where I'm headed. I'll be able to see the gun come to where I'm looking, and if there's any instability when it gets there, you know, it'll be very obvious. Okay, so it'll look something like this, right? I put my gun on one target, I look at another target, and I just bring the gun to where I'm going. Okay, so you can see, of course, it's taking away the work of essentially finding the spot or getting my eyes out ahead of the gun. In this case, all I'm doing is basically calibrating how fast I need to move the gun from spot to spot, if that makes sense. And narrow transitions like this, which is most of the transitions in USPSA, you're not going to use your core or your legs to try to, you know, push the gun around. Just my hips and shoulders are going to work together. The motion comes from my base, so that my hips and shoulders face every target, but I'm not like trying to use my legs to push myself around. I'm not having to use my core to push myself. And you'll feel that pretty clearly when you're trying out that calibration technique that I'm talking about. So it's important to remember, like, this is a process where truly effort impedes efficiency. Speed and transition, it comes from, you know, very efficiently predicting that shots have gone, you know, being ready for the gun with your eyes on a spot when it shows up and firing the second it gets where you're going. It's really not a matter of how fast can I push the gun to get from spot to spot, right? There'll be a lot of physical symptoms when you start to do that if you start over trying or over pushing the gun, right? First person perspective, you'll obviously see, like I'm describing, you'll see the gun will overcorrect in a lot of cases when you get where you're going. If you watch yourself third person, right, you'll see like it'll look like either your feet are spinning on the ground, or you'll start to see, if you watch the relationship of sort of your legs and like your core, you'll see there's like a lot of separation or a lot of jiggling around when you're getting where you're going. And most definitely, right, you're going to feel it in your core or in your legs when you start trying to really push around. In many cases too, people that are sort of tense by demeanor, they'll hold tension in their neck and their shoulders, and that just becomes more fixed mass that they have to then, you know, move at a slower rate to maintain stability as they get where they're going, right? So I'll create a video later that'll start to talk about the form and function of like how I like people to actually hold the gun to sort of avoid some of that excessive tension. But those are some of the things you need to look for in terms of what's going to go wrong if you're trying to dial out tension in your transitions. Okay, so once that's happening, you're going to do this exact formula where I'm getting my eye ahead of the gun, right, and letting the gun go to where I'm looking. This is going to be a rinse and repeat process that scales throughout all of transitions and practical shooting. You'll see once you start doing a more complicated drill, it becomes harder to make sure you're doing it correctly. But this is the building block of what you're going to do during transitions. I have my gun on a target. Through some means, I know that I'm done shooting. I look to a spot and the gun follows. Without any extra effort, without any imprecision, it stops exactly where I'm looking.